Did you know that half of dogs over the age of 10 will be diagnosed with cancer? That's 1 in 2 dogs. It is estimated that over 6 million dogs will die from cancer this year. Why am I talking to you about cancer? Well, before my 7-year-old golden doodle Wilson was diagnosed with cancer, I thought of reading as a pastime, something I did strictly for pleasure, for an escape from reality. It was just fun. But now I had to read to save my dog's life. When we found out that Wilson had cancer, I called my husband, I called my mama, I cried, I hyperventilated, I prayed to God, and then I got to work. I researched and read every single thing I could about this wicked disease. He didn't just have cancer. No, he had a wicked, fast-paced, parasitic type of cancer. A type of cancer that mutates the platelets in the blood to prevent clotting. A type of cancer that creates a tumor that is full of blood vessels. So when this tumor bursts, the patient essentially bleeds to death. All of this I had no idea about. Heck, I didn't even know what hemangiosarcoma was until Wilson was diagnosed. But you could bet 3 days after diagnosis, I was a Facebook member of every dog cancer page there was. I got my hands on PubMed articles, Dog Food Natural blogs. Gosh, I could go on and on about the things that I've read. I poured myself into the research and the reading and the time it took to save him. Our vet told us to go home and love him through the weekend, and he wouldn't make it through the weekend. But I was not giving up. I knew better. I knew that with the research and the people that were out there in the world, that I could keep him alive for longer than just the weekend. I wasn't settling for that. So I began my research with dog food. Okay. Some people claim that the new brands of dog food are causing cancer. So I just completely stopped feeding him kibble. I researched what the best foods were for a dog with cancer. And I took it a step even further. Best dog food for dogs with renal failure and hemangiosarcoma, because it turns out you can't feed dogs with hemangiosarcoma certain things that might stimulate anticoagulant. So the clotting factors were a factor when it came to the types of foods and supplements and medications I was giving Wilson. None of this I had any idea about until I started doing my research. This whole experience as a whole has changed the way that I think about reading. I couldn't tell you the last time I picked up a book for fun. It has been essentially, what can I do to better my knowledge? How can I create a better world for dog owners and for people? Because the things that I was reading, the things that I was finding out about the holistic and natural side of medicine, vets are on board with that. Most of them aren't, I should say. I was bringing, papers full of notes and bags full of herbal supplements and medication with me to my vet. And my vet was essentially writing it off. At one point, we brought Wilson in because I noticed signs of hypovolemic shock. He was bleeding internally somewhere. And I took him in and I said, hey, I think this is what's going on. The vet confirmed it. But through the research that I had done, through the readings, through the people on Facebook that were also going through the same thing with their pets, I was able to give him something called Yunnan Bio, a Chinese herbal supplement. I had no idea what this thing was, but come to find out, a Chinese pharmacist had created this during the Civil War that they had. He would give it to soldiers who were bleeding out. One soldier was scheduled for surgery to have his leg amputated. After receiving this herbal supplement, he no longer needed an amputation. He just needed a blood transfusion, and that was it. So I got my dog on this herbal supplement. I brought him to the vet for a blood transfusion because I thought, okay, the bleeding has stopped, but he probably needs a resupply of blood. Come to find out, the blood had reabsorbed into his body and he no longer needed a blood transfusion and he wasn't bleeding anymore. The vet chalked it up to luck. He didn't mention anything about the herbal supplements I was giving him or any of the remedies that I had been administering to Wilson. He just said, good for you. Go home and love him through the weekend. Now that I know what I know about the holistic and natural side of medicine, it has changed, kind of redirected my focus in nursing to a holistic, natural approach. I had always had my heart set on emergency medicine from day one. I like the fast-paced trauma. I do really well under pressure, and I thought that's where my heart was. But after this experience with Wilson, I loved the research. I loved connecting the blocks, mapping it all out on paper, seeing, okay, well, this causes this, and this can help with that. And then putting westernized medicine to the side, essentially, and saying, okay, well, why take an opioid for that when I could take arnica, a holistic medication for the same thing and have the same results? I guess that's my experience when it comes to reading, because to me, from day one, I always picked up a book for pleasure, for an escape. Whether it was Harry Potter when I was a kid, to The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, one of my favorites. It was a journey for me, a place to travel to. And now it is completely different. I guess I'm finally taking a look inside of my own world, so to speak, and finding the mysteries, exploring the realms of unknowns in my own reality.